Hello and welcome to CKE 10,000 Wins Gaming channel. In this video we'll be looking at my Prisma Illya Kaleidoscope Japanese deck profile. In this deck profile I'm running 15 level 0s, 13 level 1s, 4 level 2s, 10 level 3s, and 8 climaxes. So the first card we're going to take a look at is the level 0 Temporary Retreat Kuro. It is a runner. I'm running 4 copies in this deck build. It has an auto effect at the beginning of your opponent's attack phase. You may put the top card of your deck into the waiting room. If that card is a magic character, you may move this card to an open position on your center stage. The next card we're running is the Brainstormer, the Green Mew Brainstormer, at 3 copies. Kigurumi Pajama Mew. It has 2 effects. The first is, during your turn, all your characters in front of this card gain 500 power. The second is the Brainstorm effect, which is pay 1, rest 2 of your characters, flip over the top 4 cards of your deck, and put them into the waiting room. For each climax card reveal this way, you can choose up to 1 character in your waiting room and return it to your hand. So this deck is kind of a 3-color mix, has red, blue, and green cards. And then next up we have the Prisma Illya at 3 copies. It's essentially a 004K beater if the number of cards in your hand is 6 or more. So next up are the 1-ofs at level 0 I have in the deck. I'm going to take a look at each of them one at a time. We're going to look at the Green Mew promo first. It's Everyone's Happiness Mew running at 1 copy. When this card is placed on stage from your hand, you can pay 1 stock, discard a card. If you do, you can search your deck for up to 1 green or magic character. Next up is Start of Moving Preparations Mew. When this card is placed on stage from your hand, you can put the top 3 cards of your deck into your waiting room. Second effect, when the card is placed on stage, you may pay 1, take a hit. If you do, draw a card. Then we're running 1 copy of Necessity Illya. It has 2 auto effects. The first is, when this card is placed on stage from your hand, you can look at the top card of your deck, put it on top or bottom of your deck. Second effect is, when this card is put into your waiting room from the stage, you can pay 1, pitch a card. If you do, search your deck for up to 1 magic character and shuffle your deck. Then we're running 1 copy of Kaleido Ruby Rin. It has 2 effects. The first is a continuous. Your other character in the middle position of your center stage gets 500 power. Second is an act. Pay 2, rest this card, choose a character in your waiting room, and return it to your hand so you can salvage a character. And the last 1-of is Endless Fighting Kuro. When this card is placed on stage from your hand, you can discard a climax. If you do, choose a magic character in your waiting room, return it to your hand. So just a climax discard outlet. So that's it for the 0s. Now we're going to take a look at the 1s. The first one we're going to take a look at is Little Devil Girl Kuro, 4 copies. It's the climax combo for the deck. When the battle point of this card becomes reversed, if Weiss is in your climax area and you have 4 more other magic characters, so full board, you can choose up to 2 characters in your waiting room and return them to your hand. So on reverse, pay 1, salvage 2. It's on a 2 cake draw climax. Next up is 4 copies of Yukata and Fireworks Illya. It has experience level 2 or higher. When this card is placed on stage from your hand, if you meet the experience condition, you can discard a card. If you do, look up to 4 cards from the top of your deck, search for up to 1 magic character, and real turn, put the rest into the waiting room. And I'm running 2 copies of Lucky Girl Kuro, 2 effects. The first is this card cannot side attack. The second is experience 2 or higher. This card gains 500 power and hand encore. Next, I'm running 2 copies of Preparation for Festival Illya and Kuro. It has 2 effects. When this card is placed on stage, you may put the top 3 cards of your deck into the waiting room. Second effect, when you play a climax, return this card to your hand. If you do, look at the top card of your deck, put it on top of your deck or into the waiting room, then choose one of your weapon characters and that character gets 2k power. And the last level 1 I'm running is Puchi Kuro. When this card attacks, this gains X power. X equals to 500 times the number of your opponent's characters. So it's a promo I wanted to run. Next up is 2 copies of Big Bath at Luvia's Mansion Mew. It has 2 effects. The first is, when this card is placed on stage from your hand, if the number of cards in your deck is 5 or less, return all cards in your waiting room to your deck. If you do, shuffle your deck, choose one of your characters, and that character gets 3,000 power until unopposed next turn. Second effect is act, pay 2, rest 2, draw a card. Next, I'm running 1 copy of Blonde Youth. Its effect is continuous. If you have no other characters, this card gains 10k power. Second effect is when this card attacks, you may pay 4. If you do, choose up to 4 of your other characters and put them into the waiting room and deal X damage to your opponent. X equals the number of characters put into the waiting room with this effect. So the second effect combos with the first effect. Then I'm running 1 copy of Magical Idol Miyu backup. It's just a change punish backup by paying 1, discarding a magic character. Then at level 3, I'm running 3 copies of Argent City Kuro. It has 3 effects. The first is when this card is placed on stage from your hand, you can put the top card of your clock into your waiting room, so you heal 1. When the battle opponent of this becomes reversed, you may return this card back to your hand. And third effect, when this card becomes reversed, if you have 2 or more other characters that are either weapon or magic, and the level of the battle opponent of this is 3 or lower, you may reverse that battle opponent. Next up are the cards for a Kaleidoscope combo. We're running 3 copies of the Kaleidoscope Miyu. The first effect is when this card is placed on stage from your hand or by change, look at up to X cards from top of your deck, choose up to 1 card from them, put them in your hand, put the rest into your waiting room. X equals to the number of other magic cards you have. The second effect is when a card named Class Card Saber is placed on your climax area. If this card is on your center stage, draw a card. Until end of turn, this card gets 1500 power and the following ability. When this card's battle opponent becomes reversed, you may put that character onto the bottom of your opponent's deck. Run the same climaxes, so you don't have to run another set. So for Kaleidoscope Illya, I'm running 4 copies. It has 2 effects. The first is when this card is placed on stage from your hand or by change, draw up to 2 cards, choose a card in your hand and put in a waiting room. Second effect is when a card named Class Card Saber is placed on your climax area. If you have another card named Kaleidoscope Miyu, put the top card of your deck into your waiting room. If that card is level 1 or lower, you may put a card named Class Card Saber from your hand into your waiting room. If you do, all your characters get the following ability until end of turn. When this card attacks, deal 1 damage to your opponent. So, essentially, if you have 3 copies of this, and the 3 climaxes, and meet the condition successfully, you have 12 attacks for the deck. So I'm just going to give you a quick explanation on what I mean. Essentially, if you get all 3 Ilyas off, each character you attack with will get an instance of ping 1 3 times. So when you attack, you ping 1, 2, 3, and then do your soul damage. And then the next character you attack with, and next character attack with will be the same thing, so for a total of 12 attacks in 1 turn. And then the next 8 cards I'm running are the 4 Class Card Saber climaxes, as the first 4 climaxes. Then I'm running the Weiss 2K Draw climax for the level 1 combo. I'll have a encorelinks.com link in the description below, just so you can see an overview of this deck list. Next up, we'll take a look at my English deck profile. So the English version of my Kaleidoscope deck, I'm running 19 level 0s, 14 level 1s, 2 level 2s, 7 level 3s, and 8 climax cards. So the first card we're going to take a look at is the Sweets Battle Outbreak Kuro level 0. It has 2 effects. The first is when your other magic character or Mimi character attacks, this card gets 1000 power until end of turn. Second effect is when this card's battle opponent becomes reversed, you can pay 1, take a hit. If you do, choose a magic character or a character of Shiro and its card name from your waiting room and return it to your hand. So it's +1 at level 0. Then I'm running 4 copies of Temporary Retreat Kuro, which is the runner for the deck. At the beginning of your opponent's attack phase, you can put the top card of your deck into the waiting room. If it's a magic character, you can move this to an open position of your center stage. Then I'm running 4 copies of Prisma Illya, which is essentially a 004K beater if you have 6 or more cards in your hand. So just a wall for opponent's characters to try to get over. Then I'm running 2 copies of Rin in Uniform. When your other character becomes reversed in battle, choose one of your characters and that character gets 1k power until end of turn. Second effect is pay 1, activate, choose one of your characters with Illya and its card name, and that character gets the following ability until end turn. When this card becomes reversed, if the level of this card's battle opponent is lower or equal to the level of this card, you may reverse that character. So it makes all your Ilyas into level reversers. Then the next card I'm running is 3 copies of Necessity Illya. It has two effects. The first is when this card is placed on stage from your hand, look at the top card of your deck, put it on top or bottom of your deck. Second effect is when this card is pointed to your waiting room from the stage, you can pay one, pitch a card. If you do, search your deck for up to one magic character, reveal it to your opponent, put it in your hand, and shuffle your deck. So it helps with your Illya when you top check it. And then two of the three brainstormers I'm running is the two copies of the Kaleido Magical Girl Mew. Has two effects. The first is your other character in the middle position of your center stage gets 500 power. Second is the activate brainstorm effect, pay one, rest two of your characters, and for each climax revealed you draw up to one card. And then the third brainstormer I'm running is the Power Brainstormer Mew at one copy. Mission Failed Mew. Its brainstorm effect is pay one, and then put 4 cards on top of your deck into the waiting room, and then for each climax revealed, choose one of your magic characters, and that character gets 2k power until end of turn. Then at level 1, we're running 4 copies of Illya Being Toyed Around With. It's your climax combo. When a card named Another Me is placed in your climax area, if this card is on your center stage, you search your deck for up to one card named Another Illya Kuro and put it on any position of your stage, which is the next card you're running at 4 copies. And it combos with a climax salvage. So the Another Illya Kuro is a 1/1 7500 power with a downside. When this card attacks, if the number of cards in your stock is 2 or less, put this card into your waiting room. So you should use this card wisely. Then I'm running 3 copies of Perfect Superhuman Mew at 3 copies. When this card attacks, if a blue climax is in your climax area, you can draw a card, then choose a card in your hand and put it in your waiting room. So it's a filter outlet for you. Then I'm running 3 copies of Coincidence Mew. It has 2 effects. The first is experience. If the total level of cards in your level is 2 or higher, this gets X power. X equals to 1000 times by the level of the character facing this card. And the second effect is auto encore. Take a hit. So it's a deck encore. And this is how you kind of maintain field presence. And that's how you gain advantage in this deck, using the climax combo to plus you and the Mew to maintain field presence. At level 2, we're running 2 copies of Big Bath at Luvia's Mansion Mew. It has 2 effects. The first is when this card is placed on stage from your hand. If your deck is 5 or less, you can put all the cards in your waiting room back to your deck, and then choose a character, and that character, magic character, and it gets 3k power until your opponent's turn. You don't really use the second effect in this deck build. And at level 3, we're running 3 copies of Kaleidoscope Mew. It has 2 effects. The first effect is when this card is placed on stage from your hand, or change effect. Look at up to X cards from top of your deck, choose up to 1 card from them, add it to your hand, put the rest into your waiting room. X equals the number of magic characters you have. The second effect is when a card named Class Card Saber is placed on your climax area. If this card is on your center stage, draw a card. Until end of turn, this gets 1500 power. And the following ability, when this card's battle opponent becomes reversed, you can put that card on to the bottom of your opponent's deck. So that's running 3 copies of this card. Next up is we have 4 copies of Kaleidoscope Illya. The first effect is when this card is placed on stage from your hand or by change, you can draw up to 2 cards, then choose a card in your hand and put it into your waiting room. Second effect is when a card named Class Card Saber is placed on your climax area. If you have another card named Kaleidoscope Mew, put the top card of your deck into your waiting room. If that card is level 1 or lower, you may put a card named Class Card Saber from your hand into your waiting room. If you do, all your characters get the following ability until end of turn. When this card attacks, deal 1 damage to your opponent. So essentially, if you get that effect off 3 times, you have 12 attacks in 1 turn. So when you attack with your first character, it'll ping 1 3 times and then do soul damage. And then the next one will do the same thing, 1, 2, 3, and attack. And then the third will do 1, 2, 3, and attack. And it's on a climax salvage, so this deck is relatively consistent in getting all those climaxes into your hand. So I'm running 4 copies of the level 1 climax combo, Another Me. And I'm running, so that's the level 1. And I'm running 4 copies of Class Card Saber for the level 3 combo. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe. Check EncoreDecks.com in the link description below to see an overview.